You know, my logo says reviews, news, opinions, vlogs, and yet I haven't really done any of those. I've really done opinion pieces, documentary retrospectives on stuff, so let's change that today. I wanted to talk about the Switch, kind of what it's doing, how it launched, where it's going, and what I think the next step is for Nintendo. Right now, the Switch is in its, 6th, 7th year of life, and we've seen a ton of great first-party games that have come out in that time span. The Switch launched with some pretty great games, the big one being Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And what's funny about that game is when I initially played it, I actually hated it. I gave it about a week before I went back to it while I was playing Super Bomberman R. And when I went back, I finally clicked with it, and I did my first big boss. It was the water temple giant beast thing where you're flying on Sidon's back. It was awesome. It elicited that feeling of childlike wonder that I had not felt from a video game in probably 10 years at that point. So Nintendo has really proven themselves that they can do these great first-party games on this hardware that's a little bit aged, a little bit behind their competitors. But what I think is really interesting is that they're getting away with, 30, sometimes 20 FPS games that really look worse than some PS2 games. And I don't think that that's unintentional. I think there's a reason that they're doing this. We all know that there's going to be a Switch successor, a Switch 2. We know something's going to come after the Switch. We don't know if it's going to be a handheld device only, if it's going to be a hybrid device like what they have now where you can play it docked and take it on the go. Or maybe they'll decide, hey, we're going to do the Switch line over here and you can still dock it, but we're also going to do this more powerful home console. I could see them doing that too. But I really think what we're going to end up seeing is another hybrid device. I think Nintendo kind of knows that they can, instead of dividing everything up, they don't have to do that anymore. They can have all of their teams working on their big franchises, not splitting it up between a handheld and a home console. They can all do it in one. So I think we're going to see a Switch 2, a Switch EX, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be the Switch successor. It's obviously going to be more powerful, and that's why I think these games that they're releasing, especially right now, may be being released in maybe, I don't want to say like a lower quality state, but I think that they know that they can release these games like this now and continue selling these Switch games on the next console. I do think that the next console has to be backwards compatible, and here's why. The Switch has been so successful, it has such a large install base, that they have to incorporate that and carry it forward, right, in order to stay where they're at. So of course, if they release this new console and it's backwards compatible, they can kind of carry over that audience into this new hardware and also continue selling these old games. The reason that I thought about this is because with Tears of the Kingdom releasing recently, which is absolutely phenomenal, it's one of those games where even though it's 30 FPS and it's dipping, and I give so many games such a hard time on stuff like that, the game is just so well made, so well designed, it's constantly throwing new things at you and surprising you that it's just enjoyable. It's just a fun game that you actually forgive all of that stuff. So I think what Nintendo is planning is, hey, let's make this new console, it'll be more powerful, it'll be more capable of running our old games better. So now we can run Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, all of these games at 60 FPS, 1080p. It'll still be at the level of PS4. It still won't be next gen, right? But it'll be at the stage where everyone was a couple years ago and everybody's kind of used to now, and it'll be acceptable. I think that's where most people play their games nowadays anyways. They want 1080p, 60 FPS. There are a few people who like that, beautiful 30 FPS, high fidelity mode. But I think most people want to play those games and have a good experience, are going to want to play them 1080p, 60 FPS. They want that smoother animation. They don't want that jittery, look at the stake of performance. Nobody wants that, I think. So yeah, that's what I think. I think Nintendo is going to release their next console. I think it's going to be backwards compatible. It's going to be able to upscale those older games from the Switch, which will allow them to continue selling Switch games while also selling new software for their new console exclusively. But they'll have income coming from the Switch games that are just kind of sitting on store shelves now, because it'll just be like, hey, it's the Switch 2. It can play both. we can still sell this old software. We can carry the Switch maybe into an even, I don't know, 13, 15 year cycle. I mean, it's so successful that I could see them doing something like that. Maybe even a price cut on the old Switch. You continue selling those games, you get rid of your stock of old Switch hardware, and eventually those people upgrade to the new Switch, the Switch 2. Anyways, guys, it's just something that I wanted to throw out there that I think Nintendo might be thinking about. Let me know what you think. This is different for me. It's just something that's been in my brain since I started playing Tears of the Kingdom, and I kind of want to see that game run 60 FPS because, yeah, the game's great and everything. It runs pretty well, but when it does dip, and sometimes I'd even say maybe it's dipping into the teens for frame rate, I won't lie, it impacts it a little bit. Not much though, not where I'm not enjoying the game, just I really sit there and I'm like, man, I wish this was 60 FPS. I can't imagine what this would look like at 1080p 60 FPS. This would be my favorite game ever if it was 1080p 60 FPS. So, obviously I'm still playing it. It looks great on the Switch OLED, and it looks pretty good docked too, but with those smaller screens, 30 FPS I think is just more acceptable. But I want to play this docked. I want to play it on a big screen. I want it to be 60 FPS and 1080p. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Am I crazy? Am I stupid? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Hope you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.